Hey guys, and welcome back to NTom and Volk's Spot of PC. We're having a little bit of a first here for Spot of PC. It's the first fighting game of the series, and what better game to go with than one of Volk's favourites. This is Killer Instinct, the 2013 one, obviously. It was developed by Double Helix Games, Iron Galaxy Studios, Rare, and Microsoft Studios under supervision of Ken Lobb, otherwise known as one of the best guns in GoldenEye 007.
Can't go wrong with the old Lobb.
So, why Killer Instinct, mate, exactly?
Because it's just hardcore, visceral fun. It's one of those games that's very easy to get into and has a lot of layers to it that you can master. It's very accessible and at the same time very complicated, so there's a lot here to enjoy, and it's one of those games that was near and dear to my heart when I first spotted it in the arcades back in 1993 or 1994, I want to say.
Jesus, I was not expecting a jump scare, goddamn.
So we're going to be doing a few fights here with different characters just to show them off. So this is your Ryu, if you will, of Killer Instinct, Jago, facing up against one of the new characters in this particular iteration of Killer Instinct, which is Hisako, which is sort of like a Japanese samurai woman meets the Ring kind of deal.
Right.
She induces maximum spoop and has various slow-hitting counterattacks, so she can be a very tricky fight.
So what are we actually showing off here today? Is there any of the story mode? Are you just showing off random multiplayer fights? What's going on?
I'm just going to be showing off a few fights and the multiplayer, although there are arcade story modes, and more recently they included a Shadow Lords mode, which is probably the best way to describe it. It's kind of like a campaign where you have 3 units of your choice and you're going around trying to save the world from Gargos as he tries to take over the world, and then eventually take on the big bad himself. There are a couple of games that have done something similar in fighting games recently. Blaze Blue comes to mind immediately. They had a similar kind of campaign mode where you recruit characters along the way, and then you can use them to help you out as you make your way through empowered versions of characters and various boss fights. God, I love the music in this game. One thing I have to say right away is that the music in this game is one of the immediate draws, as far as I'm concerned. Season 1 and 2's music was composed by someone whom you might be aware of, Tom, Mick Gordon, who was perhaps more famous recently for the Doom soundtrack.
Oh, yes.
However, he did actually start out somewhat here. At least this is where I got my first taste of Mick Gordon. And then, of course, after Season 2 finished, he went away to do Doom, and then Season 3's music was taken over by Cell Dweller and another group called Atlas Plug. And their music is pretty good as well, although personally I do prefer Mick Gordon's work in this game. Although that being said, Cell Dweller does some incredible music as well outside of KI.
Alright, we're bringing in the guest characters now. We've got the Arbiter from Halo. I have actually played Halo 3, so I can talk with a little bit of confidence this time. And we also have General Ram from the Gears of War franchise.
Season 3 was a little bit weird, because that's where it started to sort of almost become shades of Super Smash Bros.
A little bit,
where they've taken all these other Microsoft characters and sort of given them life within this here fighting game. Although, crazily enough, they weren't just sort of haphazardly included, they actually work in this game.
Yeah.
Even someone like General Ram, who is very much one of those really heavy grappler, close-range aggression kind of characters. You let him get close to you, you're getting fucked 8 ways to Sunday. Arbiter himself is a bit of a weird one. He sort of has a mix of range and melee, but he's more one of those positional fighters where he has various ways of teleporting across the screen and has various options for mid-range and long-range, although his close range is a little bit limited, so we kind of got strength versus strength here. So if he gets close to me, I get brutalized. If I can somewhat keep my distance, I'm usually good to go. I was mentioning before that Killer Instinct is very accessible, and that is partly due to its combo system. And rather than having to press a whole variety of different motions for each individual hit, what usually happens here is that your moves and individual hits kind of link together. So you can do a special move and then press a button to link that with another couple of hits, then follow it up with another special move, and then you can usually end it as well using a different special move. So it's very accessible. You don't have to do much more than like a single quarter circle with a button, then maybe another one with a button, and then end it however fancy way you desire. So there is room for you to do some very simple combos, but you can get much more complicated than that as well if you're willing to kind of delve into the characters a bit, when you factor in things like juggling, recaptures, and all that kind of jazz. It's very, well, like I said, it's very easy to learn, and there is various degrees of mastery that you can take on as well if you decide to really get into the meat of the game.
I've got to say, the Arbiter looks fun as fuck to play as.
Oh yeah, he's probably one of my favourite characters, even though I don't really know how to use him that effectively, but effectively enough to use it against hard mode AI.
Can't even tell what's going on right now, gotta follow the key.
He tried to use his Instinct mode, which is the Krill Storm, which does actually camouflage the screen, and also makes it so you take residual damage, but of course I hit him with the Ultra combo right at the end, so it just looks like, within the haze of the shadows, I was just beating the ever-loving crap out of him.
Nice.
It was quite an amazing little moment, so I definitely wanted to keep that in there, even though you couldn't quite see Arbiter teleporting around like a madman, stabbing General Ram in every hole and orifice he has available to him.
Now, let's roll back the clock a little bit. Oh my god. We're gonna have to put that on hold for a second, because I can't ignore this. He looks fucking awesome to start with. I don't know what game he's from, unless he's from just Killer Instinct, but the fucking Battletoads guy, the meme lord over here, I know him all too well.
I gave him some new duds in the process. Just the face at the top right as well. I'm not sure why they decided to include that in there, but I am so happy they did. It just looks ridiculous, with the afro and the glasses especially.
So, as you all should know, the original Killer Instinct on the Super Nintendo, I want to say. There was also Killer Instinct Gold, I think, on the N64, but don't quote me on that. Yeah, they developed Battletoads, so that's obviously why Rash is in here. I don't know whether they like either helped out or did the majority of like the grunt work development on the game. That may have been the other dev studios, but hey, it was nice of them to let Rash come back for this. I believe they're the console exclusive characters in, you know, Shovel Knight and whatnot, so memes come back to life, I suppose.
And as you can see, he doesn't entirely look like himself, and this applies for all characters. You can obviously give them different colours, so Rash obviously has this rainbow thing going on. But you can also give them various skins as well. So in this case, we got the Afro Thunder look going on at the moment.
How am I supposed to take this seriously? Jesus.
I think the issue is that you're not supposed to. Just go with it and appreciate it for what it is.
It does seem like a very fun game. Like, not just in terms of, oh, here comes that word again, aesthetics, but it just looks fun to play. I don't know. I don't really play fighting games beyond Smash Bros, and even that's kind of a bit of a point of contention, because one could call it a party game. But yeah, this looks like something I could easily have fun with. Sadly, it is an Xbox One exclusive, and not just like a fucking timed exclusive like they did in the E3 2017 conference. No, proper exclusive. So, who knows? One day, perhaps. One day.
One day may not be too long away, because you can pick it up on the PC via the Windows Store, like you can with a lot of the Microsoft exclusives.
Oh, duh. Well, we're doing the fucking episode on it now, so of course.
But it is becoming more accessible than that, because they will be putting it on Steam later this year.
Nice.
So you'll be able to actually pick it on Steam pretty soon if you're not really a fan of the Microsoft Store, or you're running it on Linux or something along those lines.
Yeah.
Oh god, I love Cinder so much. Unfortunately, it's not me playing as him. I'm actually playing as Kilgore, who I probably consider to be my main, because he's just got machine guns and missiles out the wazoo, and he is incredibly fun to play.
Alright, modern Cyberman versus the Human Torch, the match we've all been waiting to see.
Cinder's gone through a bit of a change since his retro origins in the original Killer Instinct. And that's something I should probably mention as well, is that every single one of these fighters has a retro costume as well.
Nice.
So if you're more of a fan of Cinder's retro look, you can actually go with that, and it looks amazing. Exactly like it was in 1993, except a lot more higher res, is basically the best way to describe it. So they basically reimagined a lot of these characters, but for the ones that like to be purist, they've offered the option to keep the retro costumes as well.
Why is it that this, you know, an originally 2013 release looks so much better, just again aesthetically, than like Street Fighter 5 or Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite? Is it just something to do with, I don't know, the graphical style?
I think it has partly to do with the graphical style. You can tell they went above and beyond to make this game look really, really good, but more so than that, they also made sure it runs really smooth as well, because as you can see, this game is running at a solid 60 in spite of all these particle effects and what have you going around.
Yeah.
That's always the most important thing in a fighting game. I mean, looks are always going to be secondary to actual game feel, but they shouldn't necessarily be ignored, like, ever. And this game just looks incredible. You just feel like you're having fun just watching this crisp visual spectacle as fireworks are flying all over the place, bullets, fire, acid balls, whatever the hell your character does for fun. It's just a joy to watch.
It's a lot more enjoyable than turning into fucking Evo or something and watching like two foxes just like shield it up and spam each other with laser blasts.
I would agree, but it does have certain appeal just in terms of watching people kind of jockeying for position, or footsies, as it is also known.
Okay, I'm not a fighting game player, but I know some terms and whatnot.
So here we go, we got the big bads from Killer Instinct 2 and 1 facing up now. I'll be playing as Gargos, and this is Idol, who was a somewhat recent addition. And of course, this is his retro costume right here, so he may be more immediately recognizable compared to Gargos, who is using his more up-to-date form, so to speak. Idol in his updated form is actually, he only has one head, but it was cleaved in two, and by the sheer force of magic, the two heads were kind of given different personalities, and Idol's gimmick is that he has a spellcasting head, or the smart head, and then you have more the brute force melee kind of head, and they swap over randomly, so it's one of those very, very chaotic characters. It's pretty difficult to get used to, but he is incredibly fun if you sort of want to get your mitts on something that's not entirely normal.
Yeah.
For lack of a better word.
Well, it's always fun to like unlock and play as boss characters, you know, like Ogre back in Tekken 3 and so on.
Oh yes, and True Ogre.
Oh yeah, of course.
But Gargos and Idol are actually somewhat balanced in this game as normal roster characters. You can actually use them without worrying about, oh yeah, this character is blatantly overpowered. I mean, they have their own quirks, strengths, and weaknesses just like any other character in the game. They're not like blatantly power creeped or anything like that, so you can play as these characters without any worry at all. And Gargos, in this case, doesn't necessarily fight on his own terms. He likes to summon minions to help do the dirty work for him.
Damn man, you walked right into that attack, I gotta say.
Yeah, unfortunately, the spinny attack doesn't have as many invincibility frames as I would like for it to have, but, you know, it's one of my best ways of getting in, so I'm gonna give it a go.
Nice.
And of course, throwing out the interdimensional flurry of fists there.
So what other fighting games are you playing at this moment in time, mate? Is it just KI?
There's a bit of KI, there's a bit of Guilty Gear Xrd Revelator, and I'm hoping soon to get my mitts on Tekken 7, because I've been watching that and listening to the soundtrack for the past couple of weeks, and it is godlike.
Oh yeah.
And that's on the PC too, actually, both Revelator and Tekken 7, so those are very much options for you as well if you want something to kind of wet your whistle while you wait for KI to make its debut on Steam.
Well, you know, we're open to suggestions here on Smart PC, so if you want to see any other fighting games, let us know. I can tell you one that I'm lobbying for, fucking Dragon Ball FighterZ.
Oh, you bet your ass we're going to be covering that when it comes out. Maybe not even necessarily as a spot of PC. Maybe we can, like, just have, like, fights between each other and just pop those up and see what happens.
Well, I think you'll be winning that one, Mr. Fighting Game fan. Alright, I'm guessing we're coming to, like, the end of, you know, the rounds of fights now. So is this you versus people online?
Yep, I decided to include an online fight in there as well, just to kind of give an example of how well it runs online, and you can probably tell it runs pretty much flawlessly.
Damn.
The netcode in this game is incredible, and it's one thing that fighting games often live and die by, is how well they work online, and what the frame delay is like, and all that sort of thing, and there is little to no delay for the most part when you're playing KI. There's no way to really see, unlike in Revelator, where sometimes it will show what the actual frame delay is, but it's basically non-existent in this game. You may get some games where it's like 4 or 5 frames of delay, but other than that, playing this game online is a real treat, because as long as your connection's semi-decent, you're not going to run into any real issues with this game.
Didn't really work out for him there, did it?
Not really. He seems to like his teleporting around, but more to the point, I'm having difficulty suspending my belief in terms of a robot shooting a skeleton.
Yeah, well, Spinal is one of those characters I remember from the original, along with, like, Orchid, and that's about it, really. I'm more knowledgeable when it comes to Mortal Kombat characters, really, oh my god.
True that. And of course, Mortal Kombat X is something to consider as well when it comes to fighting games recently, although admittedly, that's kind of taken a backseat to Injustice 2. I know NetherRealms likes to sort of switch between Injustice and Mortal Kombat, but Mortal Kombat on its own is also pretty damn fun, and of course Johnny Cage just steals the show with all his quips as he enters the match.
Indeed. Oh, well, looks like we're coming to the end of this episode of NTom and Volk Spot of PC, so what is there left to say except, look at my skeletons, bitch. Oh, so much fun.
Alright, I think we can finish this with one word, and the announcer's going to help us with that in just a second.
Here we go.
It feels so good.
Oh, he got paid well for that, oh my god.
Whatever it is he's getting paid, it's not enough.
Indeed, give that man a pay rise. Alright guys, we hope you enjoyed this episode. See you next time for another one. Bye-bye.